To HGC Western Clash 2017 live from Katowice here in Poland. We've had a very long first day. It's been a fantastic day as well. Some great matches along the way, but it has to come to an end, and it comes to an end with our last game in the lower bracket to find out which team advances and which team is going home early. Two final teams in action. We've already seen them once today, of course, having lost their opening matches in the upper bracket, and now they have a final chance to advance. Our first team are from North America. They came into this tournament with high hopes and high expectations, and it still hasn't changed. They are Gale Force Esports. Finest, still in the tournament, fighting for their lives, Gale Force Esports. And their opponents, also from the Americas, but the other side of it, the Latin part, the southern part. These passionate players have been playing for their place in the HGC Western Clash. They had a fantastic Latin American finals as well to get here, but they're going to need all of that strength to get through the lower bracket. They are infamous. Passion, please welcome Infamous.
Infamous, our Latin American representatives, going up against Gale Force Esports to see who will continue on in the lower bracket along with teammate and who will sadly be going home. Infamous showed moments, especially on game number 1 versus Tempo Storm, but where did things start to run away from them, Trick?
Yeah, I felt like the overconfidence that we heard in the interviews was a little bit transparent also in the games a tad bit, particular in the Warrior play. Tyfex was a little bit aggressive in too many spots, the communication seemed to be off, and then whenever they lost a member or two, they just absolutely panicked. There were moments where they would lose 2 to 3 people. In their first game in particular, after they understood, okay, we're playing against legitimate teams that will punish us, they started to rein it in a little bit. So I'm hoping for this match in particular, they continue to rein it in.
Grubby, especially the macro games seem to be very difficult for Infamous to be able to deal with from Tempo Storm. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, Tempo Storm, as a very experienced team, they've got that part on lockdown at least. And Infamous, they have Tyfex here instead of Surprise, who they used to be playing with, just because he couldn't make it out here. That part, maybe it's hurting them a little bit. But you know what? Here you are as a team. You've got one match down already. You've got some scrims in the practice area, and it all comes down to this. And they need to bring their A game here to stay alive.
Dread, we've got Gale Force Esports. They brought out those strategies they had planned for Fnatic, but do you think we're going to see a return to our more standard Gale Force Esports here?
I think that'll be the case. Maybe a little flavor of, we've been working on this, but overall, it does seem a little bit of like sticking more to their comfort. That we know that they commit a lot of resources to whoever they know the matchup is going to be. They gave their all into Fnatic. It didn't work out necessarily, but yeah, I think it'll be a little bit of flavor. And I also think a lot of focus for this series specifically on the fall side. I think it's going to be a must for both sides.
Yeah, especially depending on which battleground we're going to have if we get into the global. So let's see if it will be one of those bigger battlegrounds for game number 1.
So bans, as talked about earlier, the Toon Lane maps seem to be a specialty of Gale Force Esports. So first ban from Infamous Gaming will be Brox's Holdout, that leaves BOE up and available. Two-Miss Battle Queen has been banned out here for Gale Force Esports. So now, which battleground are we moving to? We are heading to Sky Temple.
Infamous choice as well, going to Sky. That is going to... That's interesting because it's not as macro focused, but it's also, it does have some macro, but overall I would consider, I think, a skirmishing map where you can slightly get an advantage with that. So it will, I think, appeal more, I guess, overall to Infamous. That being said, it's not like I consider it a bad map for GFE. They like big maps as well when they can get that global pressure.
What does it say about Infamous, in you guys' opinion, that they're willing to go back to Sky Tempo, even losing to Tempo Storm in game number 1 there?
Well, I think Infamous is trying to avoid a long game here. Sky Temple, more than almost any battleground in the pool, inexorably leads to fortification destruction by the objectives. You generally don't go far past level 20 because those temple shots, they're going to keep coming, and there's no real way to mitigate that anymore. Mule play has fallen out of style. So we're not going to see one of those 30-minute Tomb of the Spider Queen knuckle dusters. It's going to, no matter what, be a fairly quick game.
To the side of that, too, if they lose a member, get picked off in the bottom lane with the globals that they most likely will draft, they like their Falsas, they like their Dahakas, you can get some even trades here and there if there's a 2 altar phase. So maybe, in their opinion, they feel like they have solid macro play if things aren't going their way, and Sky Temple can lend them to be towards that area.
I think the draft was something we have to look at, though, when looking at Infamous. There was very rinse and repeat with some of the priority that they were willing to not only pick, but then give up to their opponents. And though they weren't, Infamous play style, they were very much the rest of the world and considered objectively strong heroes for those maps. So I am very fearful of that coming out from Infamous, I think more than almost anything in this draft. If they go with the same direction, giving, like the Task Tracer we saw let up last time.
Well, Dahaka will be banned out here for Gale Force Esports. Infamous will ban out Tassadar.
So a change.
Does GFE take Falstad just to take it away from Infamous?
Yes, is the answer.
Okay.
I think the Dahaka ban is a definitely, kind of saying we definitely want the global advantage over them. And my first thought, if I'm Infamous, Zeratul. It's not only considered Zeratul's best map because of the predictability of rotations, but it also is a soft counter to Zeratul, or excuse me, Falstad on the global, but then also just can absolutely rip through him. So I love that pickup here for Infamous.
Well, Infamous now getting Malfurion as well, taking one of the stronger supports. Interesting to see that from them, as they don't really like Malfurion. They mentioned it in the interview.
But it's going to work really well with the Zeratul,
Yes.
Maybe realizing, looking at their last draft and saying they don't feel comfortable with what they ended up going with. They're going to go more, mixing things up in their style to catch off GFE.
Now, a well-played Void Prison into Entangle and Twilight Dream has virtually no counter, but you can try anyway. If you do a good pre-splitting and you keep certain key heroes out of the Void Prison, you have a chance to do so. And one of the counter weapons here could be Tyrael. Tyrael's Sanctification can counter Void Prison if he is played well, positionally well. Mighty Gust, of course, to a degree is another. And I think we have to start looking at those counter weapons here, because Infamous's combo so far is potent.
I wouldn't mind seeing an early Tyrael. Gale Force Esports hasn't ran into it too much in the past, but it does give you that boss control.
One of the things that does scare me when it comes to the Tyrael for both of these is, even for teams that we've seen Tyrael be a very common pick throughout all of HGC, the minute that they aren't on the same page, everything falls apart. He is it's high reward when things are going well, but obviously it's a very high risk in the sense that synergy, teamwork has to be on point. And already both these teams moving into lower bracket, losers bracket, I don't know if, I agree with you. Objectively, I think that might be the safer route, but is that for these teams specifically? Probably not. I think it might be too far out of their comfort for them to thrive.
Yeah, it doesn't fit the identity of Gale Force Esports.
It definitely
does
not
fit them. So here we are, ETC leaving being picked up. The Varian ban is being hovered. I agree with this. We saw Varian picked up from Infamous. They haven't shown too much because they've only been in 2 games, but Tempo Storm kind of did very, very well. But Infamous Gaming has showed that when they pick up tanks, they want to go for Muradin or Varian. So now Infamous Gaming has to decide, do we take our Muradin now, which we saw out of position very often. I wouldn't mind seeing a more reserved type of warrior for them. Maybe put Johanna here for Typex.
Yeah, Johanna is a pretty good suggestion, I agree, but they're going to wait till the last pick to be able to get that, the warrior here. And going with the Tychus and the Ragnaros here. So overall, the draft for Infamous here feels very well-rounded and just, again, very, solid meta heroes, I think is how I would describe it. Not considering the map a little bit too much, just overall just, strong picks.
Yep. They've actually got everything that they had in their first draft, except they have Zeratul switched out for Falstad, and Muradin was their last pick.
Yeah.
So if that's all available for them, Gale Force Esports, do you want to pinch out a warrior so much that maybe they run double warrior here? They pick up their Muradin, their ETC, grab a solid support?
You could.
They could do Muradin, Lucio, but you probably want Cleanse for Sephora Smash, Entangle, Twilight Dream.
Rhaegar's still up. I mean, there's always that favorite of Brightwing floating around for Akaface. Wouldn't mind seeing that. They've ran it in the past, and if they think their macro game can be slightly better than Infamous, they could run that route, but there is Thrall in Rhaegar.
Okay, is that the first Thrall
That's the
of
first
the
I want to
tournament?
say so, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
He did see some changes in the patch that we're going to be playing on. The fact that neither one, whatever ult you end up going with here, the rogue choice, it's uninterruptible. At that point, the animation cannot be stopped once it is initiated. So that is a buff that is rather significant, especially considering Sunder. Earthquake at times could be interrupted, but for the most part, Sunder was the one that we always knew that it's just you have to be in such a risky position that it gets delayed.
So big change up for Infamous Gaming. That original point that I brought up before this entire draft of being able to trade with their opponents and kind of lost out on exchange feels a little bit more off here. Zeratul can kind of do the same thing, but you kind of want to be closer together than you would with the fall stat. So their team fight now goes up a tad bit more, but they lose that global exchange they used to go for. That's a cute little cow.
Aww.
It is a cute little cow. And with respect to the adjustments in the draft from this one and the last is also, I think, the synergy just between the Rag and the Mouth and the Zeratul. That Zeratul adjustment has so much good synergy and playmaking capabilities that I really think it leveled up the composition from the last time we saw a variation in it.
What I will say about the Zeratul is in all of the drafts of their regional, we never saw a Zeratul from Infamous. So a lot will be on the shoulders of genre. Obviously, I don't think they would pick it unless they're feeling fully confident, especially when so much is on the line with what else they've drafted to go along with it.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a weapon that you master here on the international stage. You might hope that they prepared it. We're going to wait and see. If they have mastered it well, I think Infamous here, they have the better draft. It's an execution-based comp. It needs to work pretty well together. We have a more generic composition here from Gale Force to give themselves a chance to kind of just go back and forth here, kind of find their comfort level. But very strong weapons here from Infamous.
All right, well, we are ready for game number 1, Gale Force Esports versus Infamous. We are heading into Sky Temple with Jake and Jayhow.
Thank you so much, Gillyweed. And here we go into Sky Temple with the first Thrall game of the tournament, which means, of course, we'll have that pause. But Jayhow, looking at these matchups, man, I mean, Gale Force Esports, they tried to go all out crazy in the winner side of this tournament. But here in the lower bracket, they're going a bit more standard.
I'd say very standard. This fits exactly the Gale Force that we know. Everything that we see in this draft is everything verbatim that we've seen from them traditionally, not just during the early season here in HGC, but basically since their inception last April.
It's true. And, you know, yes, this is the first Thrall of the tournament, but he is definitely a hero with a lot of power. We've seen him played throughout various metas and will be their solo laner here. It did feel like, you know, what was their melee going to be? We were theory crafting possibly the Illidan as a unique option who also has not been played in this tournament.
Yeah, it's definitely getting back to the comfort zone. Li Ming Crowan, there's a reason why he made such a big name for himself last year. We know Michael Udall on Falstad, I believe. We'll be getting into that here in just a moment. As we are loading up, there it is, Crowan, man. He's a good-looking dude.
Okay, well, here we go back into the game. Looks like we are good to go. Season marksman for Falstad. But of course, let's introduce Gale Force. We've got Crow in there. He's going to be on the Li Ming. Akaface on the Rhaegar. It's going to be Michael Udall playing the Falstad, per usual. ETC and Thrall played by Fan.
Man, all that looks so familiar. Equinox, though, being the new man, but on the other side, we've got Infamous Gaming. That is going to be unusual on Tychus. Genre on Ragnaros, who's going to be controlling that front line. Typhex on Muradin, the X Factor, I think, right here. Jay Shrite on Zeratul. And we're going to wrap it up with D-Blank on Malfurion.
So when we look at the 4-1, I think the biggest difference, oh, wait a minute, Equinox will get picked off very quickly here, trying to scout that out. Oh my goodness. Nice pick up there early on for Infamous getting themselves just a bit of experience. But yeah, in the early game, and we got to talk about that global of Falstad being a nice asset.
Yeah, it's the only global in the game right now. We could potentially see Stage Dive, but all the globals will be controlled by Gale Force, so we'll see exactly how much they can utilize that. I think a lot of times we'll see that, but Fan's going to have to be a little bit careful. Shrite is going to be looking for a pick. He can play a very patient, rotational approach. Not a lot of action earlier. No real advantages being pressed on the rest of the map for Gale Force, so they are able to basically lurk and look for those picks. But right now, control for vision seems to be priority.
How much have we seen of Jay Shrite's Zeratul? He's played almost exclusively, if not exclusively, Falstad this event. Oh my goodness. Whew.
That was close. See, they're waiting for that. They saw the rotation. They were able to recognize it. Michael Udall going to be fine there on his Falstad, but we will have Temples activating here in 5 seconds. I'm curious to see if we're going to see Falstad rotate to the bottom, maybe play, take advantage of that global. We'll see as the power slide going in again here.
Tyfex taking a lot of damage, will be able to walk away from this, but those first shrines are enabled. We do see the fire shots going off here in the mid. Top will be taken over momentarily from Tychus as he does step on the point.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get a few of those shots. Right now, they're trading just a little bit with a little bit of contention on the middle temple as ETC holding it down for the moment. But it looks like we might have some action going towards that top temple as they're looking to press in. And Unusual caught in a bad spot. He's going to try and go away. Fan, though, trying to deal with Zeratul all over him in the backside, and he does go down.
They get the kill, but Jay Shrite is in a bad spot here. Akaf is going to look for the bite and will pick up the kill. You know, we saw Crowan actually miss the combo there. That could have spelt enough damage to get the Zeratul earlier in the fight and save the Thrall. But all in all, it looks like they will find themselves the control of the top as mid swaps over to Infamous Gaming.
Yeah, we'll see how exactly that comfort zone goes. I mean, a lot of comfortable heroes. And Jake, I think to say the least, earlier against Fnatic, they were probably on the most least comfortable heroes we have ever seen them on. I think just getting into their comfort zone, they might have a little bit of a slow start. They've already given up 2 picks, but they did pick up 1 in return on that last fight.
Well, the final shots will go off here, and we'll see the mercenary camps be contested. First off here on the side of Infamous, just grabbing some experience, pretty much dead even with the 1 kill advantage for Infamous. But as we look to the mid game, when we're looking at that bottom temple, do you think the fall side global will be enough of an edge to try to eke them forward towards level 10?
I think it could be, and we already see an early pickup on that camp, and it's something, this is Gale Force started to do this probably before most other people, as we see the Stormbolt missing there onto Thrall for the pick. But with that push at the top, it allows Infamous to get a counter push in the bottom. They have a few moments, they're getting that, they have their Siege Giants, so we see a little bit of a trade. Gale Force gonna look to try and make that up, but Michael Yudo on the top, he barrel rolls away. Shrite making up the distance once more, gonna have to blink out though.
Just the power of that Zeratul trying to put that pressure on as often as possible. Just to give a bit of a quest talent update, the only one that's been completed is Sulfurous Hungers, just giving Ragnaros that extra power from his level 1 talent.
Yeah, not too bad. That seems to be a little bit of an easier one, but that pressure that was put into the top onto Michael Udall, making use of the Zeratul, who we see who's just roaming right now, doing whatever his team needs, that basically negates that huge push. By picking that up early, they're going to have to shift their advantage to the bottom lane or possibly a pick in the middle. We'll see if they can follow up there to try and take some advantage of that global.
Oh my goodness, Tyfex does lose that Dwarf Toss, but Stormbolt enough to keep Equinox away, and he's wiggling back and forth, feeling good about that.
Yeah, I'd wiggle away from that as well, but that is Murd, and it's a lot easier. Do Dwarfs wiggle that easily?
That's a great question.
Like the least wiggly character in the game.
I mean, you wiggle with the belly, right?
That's your only choice at this point, but we see the Siege Giants pushing in the bottom again. They're trying to make up. They used that push in the top. They didn't get a whole lot out of it, so now they're going to try and make this up. Remember, the bottom wall on the side of Gale Force was already pushed in by the earlier Siege Giants, but Michael Udall is under so much pressure in that top lane. Jay Shrite is just, he's flexing on him right now.
He is, but he will have to rotate sooner for this bottom temple as Michael Udall does have the option to fly away. So that'll give him time to clean up the Night Camp before it does too much damage to the top lane, and then he'll fly down. His mana was pretty low, if I recall, though, on Falstad.
Yeah, it is, but now we see the cleanses use the power slide going in. The cleanse in return onto Tyfex, but it's not enough as Akabase goes in for the kill. Ragnaros the second to fall, and they are not done yet, as now down goes Malfurion, and a huge turn for Gale Force.
Jay, when you give Li Ming those resets, I mean, he just tears through one hero after another. That was a very quick 3 kills for them, and that puts them in a great spot to basically get a level lead here.
Yeah, you know, they were actually down about a half level going into that. We saw the Falstad fly, as you were pointing out. They had that advantage. They were able to rotate down. They took advantage of that, but furthermore, it was the Equinox power slide that really set things up. So they definitely seem to be on the same page, and right now, Gale Force, level 10, Jake.
Yeah, level 10, nothing crazy going on with Hinterland's Blast will be the standard for Gust. And then I guess the big question here is it Sundering or is it going to be Earthquake for Thrall? We do see both in the current meta. Sundering is actually pretty popular because it allows you to get a lot of options, but versus composition, who knows?
Oh, stage dive going up. They're trying to get on. There's the power slide, and there's the kill. There's the power of the global. We look at Infamous. There are so many interrupts for the Mosh Pit that stage dive seems like a no-brainer, but they are holding on. Li Ming and Thrall still holding on to those heroics. There
Earthquake,
it is.
Okay. So I like the Earthquake a lot here. I mean, it gives Thrall more survivability, gives you options for the boss pit. If they want to look for a little bit more aggressive bosses in this game, they have both Earthquake and Mighty Gust, and that makes it almost impossible to contest in the event that Gale Force tries to push the envelope when they have a talent tier advantage.
Even a disengage tool. You have Gust and Earthquake. If one goes wrong, just use the other one, walk away, no big deal.
That's
but
true.
we do see Infamous pushing down here with the Siege Giants, trading a top fort for a bottom fort, but a full level lead still in favor of Gale Force is doing well for them. But here comes the VP. I don't think there is any follow-up Equinox, so he's going to see if he can get a pick now. The power slide misses, the cleanse going in.
Yeah, the cleanse is in, Twilight Dream is out, but the Gust pushes it away before it gets any value. A very favorable trade. Oh, got interrupted, excuse me.
Yeah, you heard it go off there. It's quite a terrifying sound, but it was interrupted, which means it could be a pretty big value going forward. But at the same time, Earthquake was used in the middle of that. Gust not the worst. Earthquake a long cooldown right now.
Looking for the invade. Fan gets hit by the Stormbolt. Stage dive into the back, trying to put some pressure on. Power slide onto 2. Tychus is the focus, but he gets out of there. But Malfurion is not so lucky. Huge damage on the back. Crone with a 1 reset, not quite enough. The Ancestral just instances too late. And the damage from the Odin is strong, but can they find another kill?
Yeah, they definitely pushed in there, and you got to wonder if Akapace could have pulled the trigger a little bit sooner on that, a 1-for-1 trade. You did trade your support for an assassin, so it's almost a winning trade, but the staggered time, not much difference, 8 seconds there. We'll pretty much have a reset, but the bigger deal here with the temples activating soon is 13 right around the corner for Gale Force.
Yeah, you're going to look for that. You got 2 temples for the option. Might see a few picked up on both of the shrines here. On the side of Infamous, as they do have the map presence right now, but they will have to quickly concede one of them, probably Ragnaros in the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about heroics. Thrall has the longest heroic tied there with Ancestral, so that should be back online soon. We're going to see if they want to try and force the issue. ETC, body him off the point in the bottom. Falstad going to continue to soak in the bottom lane. This could just be a trade, but again, 13 could be a deciding factor if they opt to go. I think they're trying to see if they can find Falstad here if he rotates up.
Yeah, this is actually really scary. They have no eyes on, which is why you see Gale Force playing so passively. Yes, they have pushed them off the middle shrine, but they're getting 0 shots, now finally stepping on that point with Thrall.
They checked the boss. We saw Li Ming shoot the Disintegrate over the wall, checking the boss, saw that it wasn't active. They're going to go back and continue this middle temple channel. The bottom, because they took that time, the middle still has a few shots left. I don't know if Infamous can push in, but they have hit 13 if they do decide to.
That was a situation where we saw Gale Force up the talent tier advantage, and yet the Temple phase went in favor of Infamous Gaming. I mean, Gale Force is playing very reserved right now.
Yeah, they are very reserved, but we see the flank possibly coming in. Let's see who finds who first as we see him going in. The root is in and the power slide is on. No follow-up, though, as the cleanse was used on ETC to back out. The Mighty Gust pushes them, but no follow-up from Gale Force Esports. That had potential there to go either way.
Yeah, that blink out from Zeratul, you know, they threw a lot of resources at him. Only heroic use there was the Mighty Gust. So everything else ready for the fight, which is why you see them stepping forward. They're saying, well, look, we have a slight advantage if we were to team fight right now. But look at the top lane. I mean, that is a lot of damage you don't want to take on this.
You know, I saw that on the mini-map, and I'm thinking, I think that's a push. And I'm glad our observer caught that, because by committing to try and look for that fight to look for a pick, they didn't get it. But they didn't rotate out. They tried to pressure. They couldn't find it. They gave up a lot in the process. Jake, they're still giving up even more, but now we see the possible invade.
Typhex does get both the cleanse and the dwarf toss away here, so they have to play very passive, knowing that they don't have any kind of front line to contest this. Camp will be cleaned up. Top did take a bit of damage, you know, with the well and everything down. So if there is a top shrine, which is pretty darn likely for the next phase, that's something they really have to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, if that does happen, we already just saw the 2. So the next one will likely be a single, and it could be that top. So that camp at the top right probably won't get as much value. The thing that we'll have to look for, especially with 16, and when you have globals like ETC and Falstad, it gives you the ability to be able to grab that temple at the top safely. If the other team decides to rotate up and defend that, you rotate down, take boss, plus you're able to control vision on that. They can be there in a heartbeat. So there's a lot of good value that when you talk about the globals on this map, and if that is the potential next temple phase.
Just another quest talent upgrade. Prog Rock is done, so it's going to give a lot more sustain, and 16 is on the horizon. But this offensive Molten Core, ambitious.
It's definitely ambitious. To quote one of the player names, it was a little bit unusual there. But either way, the next temple phase will be active in 10 seconds. 16 will be online for Gale Force here momentarily. They have Siege Camp pushing bottom. Seem to be in control, but it is going to be double temple as Earthquake has been used.
Yeah, they got it down. They're focusing on Typhex. The minions get in the way of all the Li Ming combo, denying a lot of that damage, so nothing will happen, but they're looking to isolate Malfurion as their target. VP, great there to zone them out for a while, and that is is enough for Mouth to get away, but GFE still looking to push them back.
Yeah, they're going to be able to push them back. The thing about this is 16 talent here online. They're grabbing middle temple. Somebody's going to have to respond to the siege camp, which means Gale Force will still have 16 tier advantage. They'll be able to defend the top. This could start to snowball out of control right now for Infamous.
Yeah, it's really a tough moment. I mean, you think about Mirror Ball in the burst when you have the setup for someone like ETC, it's just so much more damage. And we've already seen Crowan just popping off with those resets, especially in some of the earlier fights.
Oh, Equinox is just lurking, but so is Zeratul as he's going in, trying to get onto Crowan, who does get the heals. Right now, Thrall starting to make his way up. He's left the middle temple. Again, 16 tier advantage is so scary right now.
We do have a few of those heroics on cooldown, so not at full power, especially without Void Prison. You have to see very safe play here on the side of Infamous, but they're doing a great job making sure to still have a presence on these shrines.
They've actually done a really good job to mitigate the damage in the last 30 seconds just by that potential harassment coming in on the backside from Zeratul. It forced a rotation. They weren't able to get a pick, but they are able to bully them off. Again, the power of globals is real. Thrall is the one on the top lane, but speaking of top lane, top keep.
Yeah.
First keep to fall here in this game.
And that's just so tough. You never want to give up a keep like that, but when you don't have level 16, it's such a big risk to try to save that. Jay Shrithé taking a ton of damage. Falstad looking for him, leaning over the wall, and they get the kill. This boss is very likely and going to be a huge threat for bottom.
Oh, he's flying over. Does he have the gust? He is going to go ahead and throw them over there, but we see the stage dive in as well. The Twilight Dream, the Ancestral does land to keep Thrall alive.
Beautiful Ancestral Heal coming through the Sulfur Smash. Not enough to get anything done, and Ragnaros will fall. That Earthquake still pulsing, keeping them locked in, and it looks like it's going to be a team wipe at this race.
If they keep this up, they might actually go to the top lane and try and finish. They're going to put the pressure on. That top keep falling opens this up as they continue to go in. Taika somehow staying alive. He's trying to buy time for his team to come back up. They are pushing. Down goes Tychus, and next up is Malfurion. Let's see if they go straight to the core.
Jay, I was talking about the potential for a boss, but that team fight just too much to sustain through. They get the keep, but they're playing very safe, acknowledging
I think
Void
VP.
Prison.
Yeah. They're going to rotate out. They took what they could, but they are in a commanding position. 18 to 16, 2.5 level lead. They'll be able to grab this boss pretty easily without Malfurion. There's really nothing you can do. They can threaten the bottom keep and then just play the map. And wow, Shrite lucky to be alive there.
He's very aggressive. I mean, he plays false head. He's good at getting out of situations like that where he likes to just kind of poke his head in and see what's going on. And with Zeratul, he can absolutely do that, but oh, it's so risky. If he has to spend VP in a situation like that, that could cost him the game.
All right, bottom temple is going to be the single temple next. They are on even talent tiers. If anything goes any bit awry for Gale Force, they can try and disengage and walk away. They have the tools to do it between Mighty Gust and Earthquake. They can't give up a huge fight to allow them back into it, but they have afforded themselves the opportunity. They're going to grab the camp at the top, and if this becomes a stall out, then it is in favor of Gale Force because that camp will be pushing that top lane. And with catapults,
yeah,
that is scary.
It's so tough. They don't have the global option.
Oh, they're stealing the other camp?
Oh my goodness.
Ooh, this is a power play. This is basically checkmate, because if you end up giving up that bottom temple, it is big time problems.
You see, they're going to actually look to pressure the base and force them to hearth back. The moment they show in the lane, Infamous has no choice but to go back. Yes, they're getting a few shots right now, but they have to be suspicious. Why aren't they here at the one objective on the map?
They're going to walk it in. They're going to force it. They are getting on it. The shields will go down. It's going to force the back. Remember, you have two globals. If you just want to back out, grab temple shots, and play the map, you can easily do it. But there's the cleanse onto ETC. Odin has been used. VP, though, Jake.
Do they have the Sulfur Smash combo? Is it going to be good enough to get a kill here? Hits two, but not enough damage. Tyvex trying to keep the fight alive. Cleanse has to be used to get him out of there, and GFE will just walk away as the Molten Core fades away.
The worst part about that is when the minute they got on core, minion waves spawn, it's like, oh, free 20, thank you. It's like a gift from, I mean, obviously it's on a timer, but the RNG factor almost a little bit there. But now, level 20 to 17, the bottom temple is here. It's almost, Infamous is pretty much going to have to take a fight talent tier down. There's not a lot of options at this point.
It's going to be tough. I mean, we think about the globals, we think about Fury with Crowd Pleaser. He's very good at getting the double stage dive. They will end up spending both of the Storm of Thrall and the Ancestral Heal, which is a lot just to get one member away when you're ahead like this. But does it matter, Jay-How?
Crowan is landing so many skill shots, but heavy impact on that Dwarf Toss is going to do a stun there. The power slide in, they're pushing him back. Can they get the reset? Crowan trying to go in unusual, the first to go. Stage dive, we have 3 members down, and Jake, This is pretty much the beginning of the end as Gale Force. Where was this team a few hours ago?
They were playing weird heroes, J-How.
I think it's an understatement as they are marching towards the core, 16 kills to 3, and they are taking a... This is the Gale Force that we know, with a comp that we know, and they look like the team that we thought they were.
Yeah, they really showed up here. I mean, this is a team, when we talk about them, they can be at power level 100, or they could be at power level like 50. And this was them looking near 100.
Yeah, I mean, they just look calm, collected, and ready to go. I mean, Crowan on Li Ming, Fan on Thrall, Michael Udall on Falset. I mean, what more could you ask for out of a Gale Force roster?
Dude, I love watching Crowan play too. And it was just really, really well done. Infamous, they tried to shake things up. They had some nice moments there. They call that the Udall wiggle.
I'm going to have to ask him to teach me that one. That was, I don't even know what to make of that. But Gale Force, game one, man, I am so happy that they put out that dominant performance.
Yeah, really well done. Let's throw it to our expert panel. Take it away, guys.
Gale Force Esports having maybe some odd moments in that game. The gust into Fan being like, fam, hello, team. But in the end, as Jake said, starting to build up more of the power level. And we're going to take a look in a second at the replay of the final moments in that game and see where they were able to really close it out. But, Dread, what would you have liked to seen different from Infamous?
It's tough with Infamous. Hold on, we're going to take a moment to appreciate this play. That was a double use of major cooldowns that late into the game, but a lot of this comes down to just the positioning of Equinox. The 3-man power slide that he's going to hit in a matter of moments really sets them up. As you saw, Udall sitting relatively low on the HP. There's the engaged way Equinox lines him up. He's going to be able to get to the knockback. And then welcome to Crowan on Li Ming.
Yeah, the orb being thrown right when the knockback knocked 3 into it. Solid play, good teamwork, good trust there from the team. And Gale Force, you know, they took a little bit here to level up in this battleground, but, you know, towards the end, it felt like they were much more confident and really pulling off what we've seen them do in the past.
Yeah, we saw Gale Force be able to rely on comfort picks as well as macro game, again, which is the same thing that was able to help Tempo Storm out versus Infamous, Grubby.
Yeah, I think they just played solid, straight up. They didn't need to make too crazy plays. They had the global, which gave them the superior map control. And the main threat for them, don't get obliterated by a Void Prison combo. And I feel like maybe Dre Schritter's Zeratul just wasn't quite up to scratch.
Yeah, I wanted to point that out. I think isolating the fall set and make sure they just don't get it makes it much harder for Infamous to stay in games, right? Yeah. There were some moments where they were falling apart a lot, but if you peel off that fall set and you at least soak, you're still in it.
It's one of those situations where there are specific heroes that, even though you can have a really bad win rate, you lose very slowly, so it feels like you have a chance in the game, though you may never win a single team fight the whole time, right? So it's like, and Zeratul is one of those heroes that can be that. If things get ugly, just drop the Void and proceed to go like, well, we didn't die, so at least that's okay. You won't win a fight, but yeah, it does feel like the fall stab with that split soaking and the gust to buy time in certain situations is a huge tool for Infamous, and when they don't have it, it gets worse. Granted, I think putting Jay Shrite on the Zeratul, it seemed very, we need to be meta, so that made it even worse, right? They don't have the false head, and he's on something maybe a little less comfortable.
In the same situation in their series versus Tempo Storm now, being down the first game of Sky Tempo, Infamous ended up picking Towers of Doom, which, if that's scary versus Tempo Storm, I would say even maybe scarier for Gale Force Esports. They both play very similar styles. Grubby, what are you hoping to see now, them being down this first game?
I mean, I'm hoping to see a 1-1, no matter what. How Infamous is going to be able to do that, I'm not sure. I feel like just the strength level that you feel from both these teams, it was greater for Gale Force Esports, draft notwithstanding. So, if anything, if Infamous has some hidden reserves to tap on, now would be the time to open that jar.
We'll have to wait and see. We are going to take a break, but when we return, we'll have game number 2 between Infamous and Gale Force Esports.